You over English-sized that.
Yeah, I'm trying to finesse the English language, which isn't my first language.
One must
Oh gosh,
participate
don't start off with that.
in a conversation.
What's happening, everyone? My name is Adrian, and welcome back to What the Pun. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe. And in basically today's episode, another lockdown special, I have invited Ronald and Fam on a call. And in today's call, we're basically going to share our own personal car stories. And why? Basically, when, no matter the type of journey we make, whether it's a long journey, a short journey, a journey with friends, a journey on our own, these journeys can sometimes give us some unforgettable memories, sometimes good, sometimes bad. So luckily today I have two close friends on the call, Ronald and Fam. You may recognize, well, you're definitely going to recognize Ronald because he's pretty much always in my videos nowadays. And eventually we're probably going to tell you what's happening to Tappy, but you're going to have to stay tuned for that. And the other guest, Fam, who you've seen before on a few videos as well. So let's go with our earliest car memory that we can recall, and let's start off with you, Fam. Ladies first.
Right, that's great. Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure being on your channel, as you know.
Pleasure's all mine.
So, one of my earliest car memories I have. So, when I just passed my driving test, my very first car was a Boxster.
Okay, what?
Yeah.
What?
Your first
Yeah,
car
did
was
I
a
tell you?
Boxster.
This is the first I've heard of it. Yeah, go on. Carry on.
Not a Renault Clio.
I thought I'd keep it for a good day. So I think today is that day.
So first gen Boxster.
Yes, it was a Y-Reg at the time. I was
What colour was it?
19. It was grey.
Okay.
I've got photos with it actually. I'll show it to you one day.
Ooh.
And that was my very first car that I drove as a youngster. But before then, actually, my sister had a Hyundai back in the days, and I was always keen to get in there and have a try first. So that was my first official little run around without telling her. So I told her the other day. I never confessed, but I used to always take the car out without you knowing. But I used to always put petrol in, so I always did my honours there. But so that was one of my early day memories in terms of my car.
Oh, okay. Thanks for sharing. What was that like? Like, to go from a Hyundai, and what did you learn? Well, what did you learn to get your license in? Or was it like a Vauxhall Corsa?
Well, I learned that I love speed.
Huh? Damn right.
So I've always wanted to have a fast car because I love speed. I love the adrenaline. I've always been an adrenaline junkie, as you may know already. So I've always had love for that. So therefore, when I was very young, in order to drive these high performance cars, I did an advanced racing driving course, which then helped bring down my insurance because I was very young at the time. I was only about 20, 21. So that helped a lot. That was great. That was a great experience because I had an ex-copper who took me to Leicester. And it was my choice of car. At the time, I had a C63. So I took that to Leicester track, and it was absolutely bombing down with torrential rain that day. And when we got to the track, I just went for it. As I said, I'm an adrenaline junkie. He didn't realise I was actually going to put my foot completely down, and I just absolutely went for it to the point where we came to a bend. We went on two wheels.
I don't know why I'm not surprised by this story. I'm not surprised by this story at all.
The ex-copper completely, if I can say a bad word, crapped himself.
And that was in a C63?
That was in a C63, so we went on a two-wheeler, which was a great experience. in order for me to do all these high performance car driving, I had to do that racing course. So it literally, at the time, it was A. Manning who did my insurance. And it wasn't that cheap. It was still £1,800, but it was before then. It was about 2,800 at the time for my age.
Oh, wow.
But then I managed to get around to that and brought that down significantly, which was quite good.
Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing, Fam.
I feel like I've shocked you because you've never heard this story.
Yeah, well, I'll let Ronald. I'll let Ronald start now because I find it hard to top that story.
No, I can't stop that. I can't top that story. But the story that I'm going to tell you would probably, those of you who've watched previous What the Pun videos and you've seen my Z3, this story would probably make sense as to why I've got the car that I've got now. So my earliest car memory was probably, I must have been, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And my godfather at the time, where I lived in South London, it was very kind of big on like, you was either a Ford man or a BMW man if your wallet could stretch that far. So my godfather at the time, he had a Series E30 325 in white. It was an E-Reg, I believe it was, 1987. And what was really cool about this car is when he used to come and visit, it just had such a nice sound, like when you like started it up, and he kitted it out with a proper sound system in there. And I remember at the time distinctly, his immobilizer wasn't like your normal kind of immobilizer. It actually had a key code, so you had to put in a pin code to allow the car to start, which I thought was just like, wow, I've never seen. Even up to this day, I haven't seen a car that does that.
That's like so Knight Rider.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I thought. You know what I mean? And I remember the day he called me up and because he was supposed to come round, and he's like, oh, I can't come round this evening because usually we'd watch like movies and stuff. And I said, oh, what happened? He said, my car caught fire. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I was at Sabre Centre. I was about, I just parked up, and all of a sudden, like, there was just smoke in the cockpit, and then before I know it, the car was on fire. So, yeah, the poor E30 325 just died a painful death, burning. It's sad, man. So yeah,
rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Because could you imagine if he still had that car now, how much that would be worth?
Oh wow, that would be a nice classic.
Exactly. So, and I think, and I've said this in previous videos, one of the reasons what made me get a Z3 was not necessarily the Z3 as a car, but it was the engine that it had. It was very similar in terms of the sound, that kind of that inline six. Like, it's something that I'm quite. It just makes me feel. It always makes me smile every time I hear it. And kind of that's kind of why I chose that particular car as like my daily at the moment. So yeah, that's my earliest car memory.
Thanks for sharing, Ronald. And like yourself, like my personal share is also something from my childhood as well. And what I feel is like with yourself and like myself, it's like these earlier car memories have a huge impact on like my car journey as an adult. So for myself, it's like it's almost 30 years ago when I was in primary school, and because my dad works in the hours he worked, I'd never ever get to see him unless it's the weekend. So and on very rare occasions, my dad will come pick me up in school. And this one time, my dad came to pick me up, and he had like a convertible Golf in like a blue, kind of like Fam's favorite blue. And you know, back then at the time, like a convertible Golf was just so cool, and I'd always like when there's a chance.
What mark was it, Pun? Was it Mark 1? Mark 3?
It was about 30 years ago. What do you reckon?
Tell you Mark. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. So, like, you know, whenever I have a chance, I'll be like, Dad, can you have the roof down? Dad, can we have the roof down? And then it's like such a cool car to this day, and I think that's probably had such an impact on me being such a massive fan of golf up till now still. So yeah, that's my share basically of my earliest car memory basically.
That's so cool. I didn't know either of you two stories. I never knew that. But that would make sense, Pun, why we're so involved with golfs. Because of that history, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Next question would be we're getting a bit deeper. So next question would be scariest thing that's happened to you whilst driving. So let's have you start this time, Ronald.
Cool. So I'm gonna admit something. So I've only been driving since 2017 officially, right? So this particular story though is a good one, but it was gonna cast your mind back in time to when I was 19 years old. So that was 2000.
20 years ago.
No, not that. I'm not that old. Oh God, what was it? It'd have been 2006 ish. Basically, me and my best mate, he was up at uni in Manchester, and I said, oh, it'd be really cool. Like when you're going up there, like let me know in it. Like I'll come with you, and we'll just do like a night drive. So, this time we kind of set off, was heading up the M1, and then I think it was just outside Birmingham, and then all of a sudden he was driving a Renault Clio at the time, the Mark 1 version, and suddenly just the power just cut out whilst we was on the motorway. And this section of the M1 was where it was no lights at all, right?
It probably still has no lights till this day. Anyways.
Probably still has no lights up to this day. But basically, what happened was he was having like alternator issues, but back then we didn't actually know what like that was the relation. And oh my God, it was the most scariest thing ever, because basically you could imagine driving down the roads and like you go for like 5 minutes and all of a sudden you lose all your lights and you lose power, and then you got to kind of stop, switch off, switch it on, switch it off, switch it on, switch it off. And I mean, how long would you say is a drive from London to Manchester with clear traffic? How long would you say it would be?
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. So it took us about 5.5.
With my driving.
Yeah, I remember I remember getting there, right, and I was asleep, and thankfully, like, because I didn't know how to drive at the time. Thankfully, my boy was just so like calm and composed to just get us there safely, and I was just like, oh my God, that was an experience and a half. Because if we were driving down the road and the lights cut out and we got hit from behind, they would never see us.
Oh God.
That would have been that. So
and I would have never met you.
yeah. Exactly, and I wouldn't ever have a chance to tease Fam all the time. So, yeah. Universe works in mysterious ways.
Gosh.
But yeah, so that was definitely my scariest things happened whilst I was driving.
Okay, and for myself, my share is basically when I think it was what year were we in 2000.
21.
Oh well, almost 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, when I still worked in the Lakeside Shopping Centre, and it was during the Christmas around Christmas time, so the working hours was extended. So I was basically just very tired because we was working till very late, and then by the time I got home, it was probably like 11 p.m. So there was one day when I finished on a late shift. Basically, Lakeside, I had to drive from. Basically, I'm up north around Edgware, and then to get to Lakeside, it's basically the other side of the M25, and it's about on a clear day maybe 40-45 minutes on the M25. On the late shift when I finished, I think I was just so tired on the way home. I think I was just on autopilot because I just remembered like just nodding off on the M25, and the next time I opened up my eyes, I was like, what happened to the last 20 minutes of my drive? Why am I almost home already?
Whoa.
Oh wow.
And then, like, to this day, I'm like I still remember it so well because I was so scared when I opened up my eyes, and I was like, why am I like 2 junctions away from home? I could have sworn I've only like just left 5 minutes ago. It was like so scary, and like I remember it so clearly. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just like muscle memory. I keep thinking maybe it's just muscle memory because I take that journey so much to and from work that maybe my even though I was like nodded off or whatever, I just somehow autopiloted myself almost back home.
Wow.
You probably wasn't
that's
proper like asleep, but you're probably at a point where your brain.
You're probably conscious.
Yeah, you're
bit,
you're aware, but not like aware, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
scary.
it was
But
a
yeah.
UFO moment.
Oh, damn, yeah. That's happened to me though. There's something
Maybe it
about
was.
there's something about the M25. I remember when I used to go visit my relatives in Suffolk, doing that route late at night. It's so droning. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know exactly.
it's
what
such
you
a
mean.
boring part
Especially if
of
you
the
got cruise
motorway.
control. If you got cruise control,
Oh God, that's a
mate,
nightmare.
yeah,
Because honestly,
useful,
you
but
forget it when you got that on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
Right,
that's my scary story out the way. So how about you, fam?
my scariest moment was again M25, guys.
Oi!
it's magical roads.
Classic. So I was at that time I was driving a Discovery 3.
Oh,
And,
nice.
I kept on having issues with the brake, where the brake wasn't responding at all. I thought that's not right, so I rang one of the showrooms up in Chipperfield, and I took it down to them to just get it checked out to be on the safe side. So I must have spent about a couple of hours there. They were looking at it and whatnot, couldn't find anything wrong with it. So they said, you can take it, it's absolutely fine, we've checked it, we're absolutely sure that you'll be fine. I said, fair enough. So I was heading back home, got onto the M25. As I was coming off my A1 junction, my brakes weren't working.
No.
So here I'm braking, and nothing's coming.
What? Just like foot to
at
pedal all the way to the floor.
Foot down, nothing was coming through.
Wow.
So I had a BMW on my right, and I had a Mercedes on the left. I thought, at that precise moment, I thought, which one's going to be less cost effective for me in terms of if I smack into it? Because I've got to decide whether I go into the left one or the right one. So as I was deciding to do that, and I was still like hard pumping on the brakes as hard as I could, I sort of went sideways in between both of those cars. So my bonnet was literally in between the pair of them on the back, and the brake came back in. Just at that precise moment.
Mad.
And I was like literally an inch away from the BMW. I thought I've chose the BMW in the end because I thought that was
Oh man. Allow it.
honestly, you just because you just think about parts, BMW parts slightly cheaper than the Mercedes parts. So just go for the BMW. But thankfully,
It's good. It's good.
back
To
in.
be fair, it's good logic. Actually, that makes perfect
Honestly,
sense.
and then I rang them straight away saying, I can't believe you just sent me away saying my brakes were absolutely fine. I just could have just really had a severe accident because you're coming from, remember, you're coming from 70 miles per hour coming down towards a traffic light and you've got no brakes, so you're still doing 70 miles per hour, but I was probably doing about 76 at the time probably. And honestly, oh God, my heart was in my mouth at the time. I was so scared, not knowing how. Thank God I had none of the kids in the car at the time. They were all at school. But just the thought of going into a car at that speed and having no brakes was so petrifying. So I think that was one of my scariest moments I've had in terms of when I'm driving.
What happened afterwards? How did the dealership deal with it?
So there was an issue something to do with the brake fluid. So I took it somewhere else completely. I took it to Welling and they had a look at it and they sort of sussed out straight away what was wrong with it, which was unbelievable. I was like, oh, we'll give compensation. I said, I don't want no compensation. I just want a working car, that's all I need. But yeah, so got it solved in the end. But then I got rid of that car and went for a Discovery 4 thinking it might be any better. It was okay.
So, like, basically, you two have just, like, shared stories with me where there's been situations where that could have, like, basically taken both of you away where I could have potentially never have met either of you.
Yep.
True. No, but actually, no, I think I met you before then. When I came in to work to your workplace, I met you before
okay.
then. I think this
So
was,
we've already crossed
Discovery
paths.
3, yeah, it was a Discovery 3, so I think I already had met you. In the early days. We had a quick clash, and then we were apart for about 4 or 5 years, and then we properly were introduced.
Okay. Almost.
It's a very small world. A very small world.
Yeah. Well, so, having come out of that question, which brings us to the next one, which is, have you ever been in a car accident? And do you remember what happened? And
I'll let Ron go first again, because the reason I'm saying that, mine's quite short because I've never been in a major car accident to actually give you that.
Is it the one I'm thinking of?
No, that wasn't him in it. It was the night. Yeah.
Not that crash.
That
The other one.
that would I'll call them sort of an accident. These were, but to be fair, both I've had in total 3 accidents, and they were like scratch accidents. So I don't think I sort of can relate in that area.
Alright, so are we letting Ronald start then?
Yeah, I'll go. So the accident that I did was quite boring, so I won't talk about that because I was literally just going into the back of somebody because I wasn't paying attention. But I got another one that's even more kind of like mad. A lot of stuff happened in my college days. Honestly, best time of my life. Right, so many near-death experiences.
I have so many near-death experiences. Best time of my life.
Best time of my life. Right, so I went to college in Weybridge, Brooklands College. Because I was doing motorsport engineering back then, right? And one of my mates, he literally just passed his test, and he was his first car was a Renault 5 Campus, right? And he was like all excited because he was 17, he just passed his test. It was like, okay, cool, let's go for a drive. Yeah, so we're driving around Feltham, because that's where these boys lived. And for some unknown reason, it was driver, my mate, myself, and 3 others in the back seat. I can't remember who these 3 others are, right? But somehow they meant the car
must have been the accident.
I hope it wasn't us, because we had an accident in Feltham on my sister's hen night.
No. This is like in broad daylight.
Oh, okay, good. This was night time. We were going to the cinema where my mum had an accident. 2 accidents in one night.
That's mad.
How unlucky was a hen night?
No, this must have been probably like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon down a residential street,
okay.
Right? And obviously you guys know the Renault 5, like it's a tin can on wheels, man. There's no it's ridiculous, right? So basically we're just bombing it. I don't know if we're even bombing it down the road. I think we're doing about 30 miles an hour, right? And then we go to turn the corner, but basically the corner was quite sharp, and I don't know if. My mate didn't counter for the fact that there's obviously loads of people in the car. So the car's not necessarily going to stop to get the corner. So he turns the wheel, right? And then the car just understeers and just goes bam straight into, I think it's a Vauxhall Cavalier, right? So, you know, the Renault 5s, right? Because they're 3 doors, right? So basically the seat, my mate's seat, before then, he was kind of like, my seat won't go down. Well, when we had the impact, my mate's head flies into the windscreen. I then fly into the back of the headrest, bust my lip. He busts his head. And for some reason, right, the driver, perfectly fine. Right? Because he was the only one who had a seatbelt that worked. My seatbelt wasn't on. It wouldn't clip in. This is some dodgy ass car. But what is jokes, right, is the impact that we hit the Cavalier jolted that. Remember, that car had handbrakes on. It jolted that car backwards and then wrote off the other car behind it. So on his first day after he passed his test, the same day, he wrote off 3 cars.
Oh wow! How unlucky, huh?
So that was that was a story and a half, boy. I remember wow.
And those old cars are just not very accident safe, basically.
No, they were. I think
in those days there's nothing but airbags.
No, I think. Yeah, I don't think they even had. No, they didn't have. You're right, fam. They didn't have airbags. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying.
Back in the days.
How?
It was a manual handbrake going up and making all the noise in the car.
And the thing is, so many of these old cars, like back then, had so many of these cars had like recalls for like seatbelts.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised that when you said like
recall for engine. Forget seatbelts.
Oh god.
Yes, that was a. So from 2003 to 2006, that was basically where all the near-death experiences occurred. Good times, though. Good times.
Alright. So, for myself, it brings me... Well, I've been in... As far as I remember, basically 2 accidents. And the other accident I had, which was more recent, is quite boring, so I'm not going to share that. The other accident brings me back to probably when I was back in primary school. and in my mum's car. And my mum back then, she probably passed her test not too long ago, and she's still relatively quite a nervous driver. And being my mum, she's always needed someone, like the passenger, to always guide her where to go. And I think we was around Swiss Cottage sides. I think around the park that was near there, and as we was approaching like a turn, but my dad told her to turn a bit too late, and my mum being my mum, she was quite nervous, and then she panicked, and then she took the turn a bit too fast, and then probably I think she ended up on the wrong side of the road, and then cause there was traffic coming, she then swerved to the left to avoid the car and went into a lamppost. And this, at the time, she was driving a very old Honda Civic, and I reckon that those car like your car, the one the story you shared, not built very strong, not designed to take impacts very well, and she went into, so basically this Honda Civic went into this lamppost, and it almost acted like a knife going through butter. So this lamppost was about halfway, almost to the point where this lamppost was like inside the car. Basically, it went through the car, like that.
God.
Luckily, where we were all okay, I basically just flew from the back seat to the front, head butted the stereo. My mum and dad are alright. Yeah, and that was probably my most shocking car accident that I've been in to this date.
Do you know what? Talking about car accidents, I do remember one that I did have that wasn't in this country. It was in India. They're mad out there in terms of their driving because they're coming left, right. There's no road traffic going on there. It's just literally you go whichever way you want to go. So one day we were coming back from the mall, and we were on a motorbike, and my uncle was riding the motorbike, and all of a sudden a dog came in front of us. We hit that dog. I was about 15. I went flying into the bushes. I scraped my entire bloody body. I got up. I was so angry at my uncle. I said, "Do you not know how to ride a bike? Why are you on the road if you don't know?" He goes, "Don't say that. It just came from nowhere." I said, "I understand it came from nowhere, but that's why you got eyes to look on the road. Why weren't you looking straight?" Oh, that was the worst accident ever. And I said from that day onwards, I was never going to sit on a bike with him ever again. Which I actually did. I never sat with him again. I was so angry. It was so not called for. And I was so tired. And the worst thing was, we went to a mall, which I stood outside because I didn't want to go inside because there was a bit of a smell coming from there and I didn't like it. And I was really young and I was really sensitive to smell at the time. While standing outside, I was getting bit by mosquitoes, left, right, and centre at the same time. I was like, oh, this couldn't get any worse. Honestly, that was the worst day ever. And he just topped it off by topping off a bloody dog and going flying over it. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
These stories are mad. Oh my goodness.
Oh wow! All right, so let's wrap this up with the last question, and lastly, let's talk about getting lost.
Oh,
so
there we go.
Have you ever got lost whilst driving somewhere? And let's have you start, Fam.
Yeah, you start,
Let me think. Have I ever got lost?
Oh,
well,
wow.
I think you're living proof whether I got lost or not, because I got lost when we were going up to Wales. Oh my god.
Not just once.
A few times, but I always caught up in the end. You have to rate me where I'm.
I mean, with all due respect, you had the fastest car at the bunch, so whatever way you got lost, you would have made up lost time.
And with all due respect, I got there before you in the dark, even though I got lost.
I remember that, yeah.
I didn't take another 14 minutes on top to get there.
Fam, you just got
And then get lost
just-
and not
you
have
just
initiative
got- no,
to
you
think,
just got
have I got a
cheesed off.
radio in my hand? Can I get signal anywhere?
You got cheesed off because it was taking too long to get there. He's like, right, foot down, bam, middle of the night. That's what
No,
you
no,
said.
no. I didn't get cheesed off. I thought we were meeting. Pun.
Yeah,
Wait,
before
Should
we
before
go into
you
this
start,
story? Please, let's go
Yeah.
into this story.
before you start, let me explain to everyone. So just because no one knows
No,
what we're
that's the
talking
story,
about,
yeah.
basically,
Yeah, of course
and
not,
let me
no.
just explain. Like, once, how long is 2-3 years ago now?
It's
2 years.
2 years.
2 years ago, myself, Ronald, Fam, we took our cars and we decided to go on a short weekend trip to Wales. And
So just before you
We-
carry
we-
on, I took my 991.2 Turbo S. You took your
Yes.
Cayman, and Ronald took his lovely Z3.
I did.
yes,
Yeah.
and we booked a nice little cottage out in the middle of nowhere in Wales, where there was no reception at all.
Bliss.
And luckily, I was smart enough to put the GPS location in the Airbnb pack, whereas everyone else seemed to put the address of the Airbnb. But I followed the instructions on the Airbnb with the actual location, because they
Okay,
already
the
knew
stake
that
is there.
people would get lost. So I actually arrived first, and then Ronald and Fam obviously didn't arrive on time, and they got lost. And the only way to communicate was through these radios that I
Provided,
to everyone, but-
I thought of, which he didn't.
You still
Yeah.
got these radios.
oh yeah,
yeah,
I've got some as well now.
We'll need them again soon.
and the thing is, these radios would only work if we're in close proximity of each other. So
They were great.
Bearing in mind, we're in a cottage where there is no Wi-Fi, there is no signal whatsoever. So it's
It was
complete
proper
blank.
off the grid.
And it's narrow roads in the pitch black. Just imagine you've got a forest on both sides and you're driving in this wide end Turbo S in these narrow bloody roads. Oh my God, what were you thinking when you booked that cottage? Anyway, it was a lovely cottage, but it was a nightmare to get there.
yeah, and basically, I think about 30 minutes after I arrived at the cottage, I hear on this radio, "Pun, where are you? I think I'm lost. Pun."
No. I said, is anyone receiving? Is anyone receiving? Can you hear me? Because I can't hear anyone. Can anyone hear me? I was panicking because I decided to go down. I was on the right lane, so you got to,
But
pay me
you was
the
close,
thing.
because I
was very
received you on the
close.
radio.
Exactly. So I was very close, considering someone came 45 minutes later. We had a footage of that as well. But when I got down to those narrow lanes in the pitch black, I went down and I saw a guy with a kettle in the middle of the road.
Did you say kettle?
Cattle.
Oh, cattle. I thought you said, why would the guy come out randomly in the dark with a
No, with
kettle?
that cup of tea.
What time of the night was that? It must have been. It was like 11ish, wasn't it?
So it was about, no, it wasn't that late. It was about 10:30, 11.
Because he left straight after work.
Yeah.
I think you was finished the latest as well, Ronald. I think.
Yeah,
right?
so we were waiting for you. So anyway, I got to this narrow lane and literally I was on my phone. The GPS completely went blank because obviously there's no signal. And I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to reverse? Because I can't see nothing behind me right now. I'm so going to smack my car up in the middle of nowhere in Wales. So I thought, what else can I do? So I remembered that we kept the radio switched off just to preserve the battery for a bit. I thought, let me turn it on just in case you're in close proximity. So when I turned it on and I could hear crackling, that means there's someone close to me. I jumped straight on that. I was like, can you hear me? Can you receive? Is anyone receiving? Is anyone receiving? Roger, Roger, Roger. Going all crazy on there. And then eventually I can, yeah. I can hear your voice coming in and out. And I thought, oh, thank the Lord. And then as I was getting closer, I could hear you clearly. And you're like, you're right here. I can hear your car engine, but I can hear you. You're very close to us right now. Somehow I managed to get a bit of signal and we got to the right place.
And thankfully your car's loud.
Yeah, so you could help me there because you heard it. But this guy was coming out and he scared the daylight out of me because it was the middle of the night. It was so pitch black. And then he was
Because
looking at me.
there's no street lights.
There isn't, no, there's nothing. It's just forest. You're just literally driving a narrow field with nothing there, no lights, nothing. But I managed to make it. But the hilarious part was trying to actually enter that cottage with all those bugs. Oh my good lord.
Oh yeah.
You missed it.
Yeah, the amount of stuff we had to
Yeah.
deal with, yeah.
Spiders and dragonflies. Oh, it was horrible. But then eventually, Ronald, what happened to you? Because I left you at the petrol station because you were taking so long, you were faffing around so much. But you know what? I've had enough. I just need to get to Wales now.
So this faffing that Fam is speaking of is literally just me, because we had someone else with us, and there's literally just us having a toilet break. Like, we've been on the road for like hours, right? And the reason why Fam, with all due respect, the reason why we even ended up there is because down in Oxford, you remember when we was at the roundabout and it was bloody third exit, you took fourth exit, and then Bun took the first exit, and then that's when we split up.
Yeah.
So that's, and it was just
Convoy departed.
Yeah, because it was mad
nicely.
because we just see Pun just going off on this other like trajectory, and then obviously me and you together, and he's like, do you know what? I've got the speeds. I'm just gonna head off. And to be fair, we stopped again. Not because we were not because we were lost, but just because I just needed something to eat because I was really hungry.
And we planned to try and meet up somewhere in between, didn't we?
Yeah, at a petrol station where you were 26 miles away from us.
Yeah, and we thought we could make
thought
we could make up the time. Yeah,
and we were back on ourselves as well.
I'm just a natural at arriving at places first.
No, you're natural in disappearing first. Yes, say that.
We honestly,
the
I
correct
don't even
one.
know the route that you guys took to get there, but the route that me and Mike went was just crazy. Like, and then once we got to like was it the Severn Bridge that crosses into Wales?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, that was beautiful because it was pitch black. I had the
really
windows
lovely.
down. Like, it was lovely.
I had the roof down.
Yeah, good on you, man.
Of course you did.
And then there was one bit where we came off it, and then it's kind of like the turning for the country lane was on the right. So I did some kind of ridiculous maneuver in the middle of the night to kind of reverse back into traffic, but there's no traffic, to go down the side lane, and then I was just pelting it down the country lane. And Michael was like, bro, can you slow down, please? It's a bit fast. I'm like, dude, I could literally see there is nothing out here. Yeah, I'm gonna do 50 down this country lane. I want to get home. And then literally as soon as I got to where I thought was the area, I was trying to reach out for you guys, and like you said, Fam, I could hear you guys. I could hear you, Fam, just trolling me like, where are you? You're taking so long. Can you not see us?
How long does it take you?
We're
trying to make this time-lapse video that's taking forever.
it was honestly, to be fair, that is actually that wasn't my story, but I would absolutely say that was probably the best experience of getting lost, was getting to this cottage.
Lord,
it was the best. Once we got there, it was fine, but just getting there was awesome. And to be fair,
really, was it fine though? After we got there the next day?
it was stressful trying to get there, but I think when you relive it, right? I mean, come on, that whole trip had so much more dramas, like, you know what I mean?
Oh my god, we had so much drama. The drama hasn't even started yet. That was like the breaking point. What happened
exactly?
The next
But
day. Oh my god!
But it was just nice to kind of like just have that experience that we could all kind of share, and I thought that was pretty cool. And honestly, I can't wait till things open up so we can do it again.
Let's do another trip at some
Absolutely.
point. But obviously, that wasn't going to be my story to share, because I didn't get lost getting to the cottage.
All right, Pun. All right.
All right. Should we give Blue Peter badge for that?
Oh, why not?
Or should we take the violin out, Ron?
Yeah, tiny one. I know how to follow directions. Oh
yeah, I'm the A to Z map. One must know how to use a map.
But I mean, it's hard to top that story, anyways, because it is like the best getting lost story.
I would say
But basically, yeah, the one time I got lost was quite some time ago, because my cousin was living with me at the time, and he was here studying. He was at university at the time, and he was staying with us. And I think one evening we decided to go into London to get some food. Once we were done, had to drive back home, and the routes we usually take to get home from central London is like going through like St John's Wood, Finchley Road, through Hendon, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And I don't know, I was probably so confident in my sense of direction at the time that I didn't bother with maps, because it's just should be straightforward. And this time, for whatever reason, I was so stubborn with the direction I was going at. I was like, yeah, I know, I should almost be there. I should see that building that I recognise all the time soon. And then by the time I realised I was lost and going in the wrong direction was when I arrived at like Shepherd's Bush, Westfields. And I'm like, okay, this shouldn't be here. I've definitely went the wrong way.
Do you know, now you just told me that story. That, like, for those of you who live in London who kind of knows, like, the route going from Central to
That's my
North, you
hometown.
literally just go St John's Wood, Finchley Road, up the A41, through Cricklewood, Hendon, and then you're home.
Yeah.
How on earth did you take a turn and end up in Westfield, which is, like, on the other side of West London? How did you do that?
I don't
You
know.
must have jumped on it.
And then my
I'm genuinely, because I'm
he
thinking,
must- he
did
must
you
have
jump
gone
on the
through
North
Bayswater.
Circular? I'm like,
You met
no,
him
because
at
that can't get you
Bayswater.
to Westfield. Like, I'm baffled. Fam, help us out. How would you reckon he would have done that?
I don't know. He's probably not read the A to Z properly this time round.
I've learnt from my lessons, which is why I don't get lost
Yeah,
now.
that's why you're so accurate.
That is
But the thing
actually
is, my
crazy.
my cousin was actually like, you know, a few times he was like, you know, are we there yet? Or like he's like saying, are you sure you're going the right way? I was like, yeah, we'll be there soon. Don't worry. And
That's crazy.
yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, Westfield, Shepherd's Bush, yeah, not meant to be here.
That is crazy.
And he was not happy with me. On the way home, he's literally just silent, like gave me that silent treatment.
How
on the
long?
way
How
home.
long ago was this?
Well, he used to live here, and he was going to university, so probably, let's see, maybe 8-9 years ago, 7, yeah, ish.
That's crazy.
That's
I'm still
my
I'm still
hometown. You should
baffled.
have come and visited me.
Well, I didn't know you back then, did I?
No, possibly not.
Well, so what about you, Ronald?
So
Let's tell us about you getting lost.
my first story would have been definitely part of Fam's story, but my story was when I was riding a scooter. So this was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was running my own business at the time, and I had to do a delivery from Watford to High Wycombe, and at this time it was quite I think it was winter. Yeah, it's winter time. So I thought, oh, as a scooter rider, I didn't have like, you know, GPS like attached to my handlebars. So basically what I had to do is memorize the route in advance, i.e. like by the A roads, and then you know, use road signs, right? So for some reason I decided, right, I'm going to go down Maple Cross, right? And then I'm going to cut across, because there's this route that I can cut across that can get me into Amersham, and round the back she's at Amersham, I'm in High Wycombe, right? Little did I know that this shortcut took me through a single track lane in the middle of nowhere. I barely had much light to see in front of me, because obviously it's a scooter. How much light can you have? Even with high vis, I think it was slightly foggy that evening as well. And I was bricking it, because obviously I was checking on my phone for reception. No reception, because I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, I need to pray that I go down this road and I don't get like lost, because I will really struggle to get out of here, because there was no signs or anything. And thankfully I just kind of kept going, and eventually I got to this kind of like little opening, and I could see that it was an A road, and I was like, look left, look right. I was like, I have no idea where I am. So I turned right, pelted it down for about 5 miles, and eventually I actually just ended up just outside Amersham. I was like, okay, cool, phew. And what was jokes is one time I drove around the area in my car, and I was like, oh, I remember where we were. Yeah, I got lost, and it was really like scary down here. So that was probably like, yeah, that time. Because obviously now it's different. You've got like GPS, you tend to kind of follow it. But back then it was a case of knowing where I needed to go, memorize the route as best as you can, and then only stop if you needed to, like, you know, just verify like things, verify where you're at. But yeah, man, that was crazy.
Thank you very much, Ronald. Oh my god. So, thank you very much for sharing. Ronald, Fam, thank you for sharing. I mean, it goes to show, like, you know, no matter what kind of journey you make, you know, with a car, it always, like, you know, whether it's with friends, family, on your own, it does leave you with these like really unforgettable memories. Okay, so once again, thank you, Ronald. Thank you, fam. It was amazing sharing stories and hearing your shares as well. Basically, that's it for this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope it's actually brought some memories to yourself and, you know, make you reminisce on some amazing car stories that you have of your own. And but I'm honestly looking forward to future car stories with yourself and Fam Ronald. I mean, I'm hoping once all this COVID lockdown, whatever, once this is all done and out the way, I'm looking forward to our next road trip.
I'm looking forward to getting lost again as well.
Honestly, same. I'll make sure I have enough fuel in my tank this time.
If we're gonna end up going to Germany as we planned,
Fam, you coming as well to Germany?
Hopefully.
Yeah, awesome. Cannot wait.
I don't know why you're excited. You can't keep up with me.
Do you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I know that I have the slowest car of the group, but I do have the most fun.
Only
I don't care what anyone says.
We'll tune it.
I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to getting lost in Germany, honestly.
Trust me,
Who can speak German?
Really
Who can speak German?
Ja, kann ich Ihnen helfen? Sehr gut.
Oh my
sehr
god,
gut.
that'd be sick.
Good Nacht.
But anyways, yeah, plenty of stories to look forward to in the future.
No. I did German GCSEs, thank you.
But yeah, anyways, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, fam.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.